So let's dive straight into the new mental model that you can use if you want. Those of you that are just joining us can keep using the mental model that we did before, but this one is new, and I think you're going to like it. And I would suggest if you're into it, you actually draw this right now on a piece of paper so you can get the feel of what it's like to do this. So this figure just has a head, and not all of its limbs. And so the important thing about this is to draw the head that pops up just a bit above the line of the circle. And there is a reason for that. So you're going to describe our theory of change as you go through this. And remember that this follows directly on the work that we did in Module 1, which was to create a mental model of your life now. That was the last thing that happened in Module 1. So that's fresh in the memory of everyone that is an investigator. Now, these three circles represent what it's like to live in a world where it's really unstable, where things go wrong all the time, where the resources are low, and you're forced to solve problems again and again and again. And you can see those arrows come around and point to each other. The idea here is that the one on the left may be cars that break down, the one in the center might be childcare, the one on the right may be food or housing, any number of problems that people have talked about during Module 1. You would take those stories, lift those stories, and put them straight in here so they can see the continuance of their information feeding this mental model. And you're saying that these things keep whipping around because you see this problem again and again. So the next step is to put the word concrete on here, and you're saying from Module 1, when we put the terms around the outside of the mental model of poverty, one of the words that we put up there is concrete. And now we're saying that in poverty, as you're living it, and as you were defining it in your mental model that you did about your life now, let's call that the concrete world. This is where you are the one that has to get under the car and get it fixed. You are the one that has to find someone to help you fix it. You're the one that has to take care of the furnace. You don't have somebody who looks after your property who does those things for you. So from there, you put muscles on this person because you're saying the way that you solve problems, as we were talking about in Module 1, when we were talking about poverty, we asked, how do you solve problems? Well, I use relationships to do that. And I'm solving problems all the time. So this means that we recognize you as a problem solver. You are not the problem, which is the way our society often looks at families and people in poverty. You are a problem solver. Then you thicken the line, and you're saying, and you're showing this big line, the life that you're living. This circle represents that life, and you're saying, this is going on month after month, year after year, living in this space. It does make you a hero, right? But it's not going anywhere because you're so caught up in solving the same problems over and over. This is the same thing that you're saying when you develop the old mental model, you're saying the same things. So this is that concrete world that spins around year after year and essentially shortens the lives of people because of the health indicators that go with it. Now, the way out is to get to the abstract, to while you're living in chaos, to be able to get to the place where you can think about it. So we're adding value to this. And you draw that and you say, now let's define it. And we use the very same terms that we did in the old mental model, which is to say, you have to be able to detach yourself, share your mental model with others, come to group and talk about it, have a friend you can talk to. you can become more objective that way. It helps you fall into the hijacked feelings that you've been living in all the time. It gives you that safe space that we create in getting ahead. So getting ahead is a place where all the rest of this can happen. You can become detached because it's safe. We want to really emphasize the idea: safe building, safe room, group rules, all making it safe. It allows you to go to the abstract where you're detached and objective and separated from your problem. Now you can think and analyze. And what happens in getting ahead is that's what you do. You spend your time doing it. In getting ahead, you run across new information, education, and you create plans for support. So this is what happens during getting ahead. It's all part of the abstract world that you're in. You're going to learn how to plan backwards. Later in getting ahead, you'll learn how to plan backwards. This I didn't get to mention to the group earlier. Today is a wonderful little tool. If you have a science project, and all of us in America experience some kind of science project we had to do in elementary school or junior high, and you know that this represents a number of days, and let's say the project is due on the last day here where you see the S, that's the day it's due. What day is it that your kids want to go buy the poster board? Well, it's the night before, right? So you know that in order to get the science project done, you actually have to work your way backwards. So you actually begin the project way over here 2 weeks earlier, and then you have these steps that bring you over to the day when it's finally done. That's planning backwards, right? So we plan backwards and we make procedural steps. So now this is like organized. You've got a plan, and you take your procedural steps and you turn it into a 3x5 card you carry in your pocket so that you know what you're doing every day, moving towards this bigger plan of yours. Now, that's your future story. Then in the paper version of this, but not showing up here, when you get into the USB, look at this again, because first of all, the instructions are written out for you in detail. Not showing up here is what to do in an emergency, because emergencies do happen. Just because you're getting ahead or you've been out for a year, it doesn't mean everything's going to run real smoothly, and things are going to come to throw you back into problem solving immediately, concretely. That's going to push you back in the concrete world. And our idea is that be able to get back to being in the abstract as quickly as possible so that you aren't as vulnerable as you are when you're solving immediate concrete problems all the time and grabbing for easy solutions. So that includes things like, identifying that you're in a crisis and then taking a time to breathe so that you get out of the rush of your thinking, kind of get in touch with the rest of your body, and then you start working your way through, okay, how can I be safe? What do I need to do if it's a safety issue? What do I need to do? Who can I talk to? And you get yourself back into a place that's safe where you can analyze and talk and work your solution again. So that's the mental model. We do have time that if you have questions about this, you put them in the chat. I can find out from Susan, who's helping me here, if there's any kind of immediate questions that come up. Anything so far? Okay. All right, so that's the new theory of change. You can thank Ruben Perez. He's a mental model master, and you should know that all the mental models that you make during getting ahead, the group makes and you make, are ones that can always be improved, right? So when you first make your mental model of poverty and the group has it hanging on the wall, it doesn't mean you can't go back to it and add stuff to it, right? And the same with the middle class one, and the same with the one on for wealth, and so on. So this is the new one. Hope you enjoy using it. There's your new world.